All right, thank you very much, Tom. I'm very pleased to be joined here by Assistant Superintendents and Superintendents Bob Herrera from Adrian Schools, Tom Hostler from Perrysburg, and Brent Welker from Eastwood Schools. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're talking about education here. This is the last week for Ohio grade school students, for most of them at least, before they head back to school. And first we want to hear what's new, what's unique, what's uniquely different about this school year coming into the year. Please, Bob, if you don't mind starting us off.
Well, for our district, we're facing several reforms. One, our legislature conducted a reform on our Teacher Tenure Act, which will force us to address teacher evaluations and some other labor relation issues for the district, and those are enacted through board policies. So we're working at this point in time in establishing board policies to address the new tenure reform. We're also facing some changes in terms of cut scores for our state standardized test, and currently Adrian is in the middle of a school improvement grant with a comprehensive school reform, and we were allocated about $1 million per year for 3 years to implement the reform. So a lot of things going on in Adrian right now.
And you said that you're in year 2 of that 3-year grant right
Year
now?
2 at this point in time.
And you've started to see the fruits of that labor?
Yes, the first year we were pretty much task-oriented, implementing a lot of academic foundations and students' behavior and social supports. Now all those are in place. We conducted a lot of professional development for the staff, and we're really focusing on the implementation stages of that.
Let's go to Tom now. In Perrysburg, what do you look towards at the start of the year? What are the goals that you set forth to try to set the tone educationally?
You know, it all starts really at the end of last year when we begin to analyze student data, and really it's kind of like coaching a game. And you know, the summer's kind of like halftime, where you make adjustments to the game plan and you come back with a strong second half. So the things that we looked at is making sure that all students are achieving, moving all of our students up in terms of taking steps to ensure that that will happen. So response to intervention is a big buzzword. I know Eastwood's very involved with it too, and getting all staff focused on helping students when they need it the most. For next year, I know we're changing our starting times. We moved them up a little bit, or moved them later in the morning, so the secondary students are happy about that. And probably the most controversial item is the fact that we're no longer allowed to sell cookies at lunch. So due to some new legislation, so I think that's going to be a crisis for us. So,
are you expecting an uprising here?
We'll see. We'll see. We've got a few fake cookies that we're looking to sell, so we'll see how that goes.
Is the start time something that all districts are doing, or is that just in Perrysburg?
It's something that I know many districts look at it. It's something that we've looked at doing it. We moved the needle a little bit. It's just very challenging with having one fleet of buses and multiple pickup points, but it's something that we were able to do, and we'll see how it works this year, but we're excited about that.
Gotcha. And Brent, on the phone with you, you mentioned the word intentional a lot. Can you speak to that a little bit, and what role that mindset plays?
Well, I think that anytime you are dealing with kids, or anytime you're doing anything, you want the success that your kids have to be as a result of the things that you are intentionally doing. We really want to make sure that we're attacking with details and looking at everything that the kids need, and just making sure that what we do is having a result and having a benefit for the kids. So, and this is a different year for us. We closed an elementary building, and so now we have a 5-8 middle school, which is very different for us. And we're actually, our first day is usually we have all kids in. This year we're only having our 5th and 6th grade kids starting at the middle school on the first day. And only our 9th grade kids are starting at the high school on the first day this year. We're trying to do a little more transition work to help them get off to a better start. Just want to make sure that kids are ready to go in. With a lot of the 5th graders moving to the middle school, there's a lot of angst for parents and for kids to make sure that's a smooth transition. So we want to make sure that's part of that.
I'm glad you mentioned parents here, because after this break we're going to be talking with you about what parents can do, how to get them more involved, how to focus their attention in the right ways to make sure the kids benefit the most from their efforts. We're going to take a quick break. Back here, we're sitting here with our education roundtable with officials from Adrian, Perrysburg, and Eastwood schools. Thank you guys again for being here. In the last segment, we talked about kicking the year off right, what's different for this school year. One thing that you hear about every year is the need to get parents involved. Can you speak, and whoever wants to take this first, speak to how you approach that issue of getting parents more involved in their kids' education?
One of the things that we've tried to do over the course of the last couple of years is just break down barriers so that parents can have easier access to information about their kids, whether it's through online reporting. I know Tom uses a program, we use Progress Book, where parents can get in and have access to basically the teacher's grade book, which I think would have been a pretty detrimental thing for me as a youth. But
wouldn't have worked out for me either.
Yeah, it would have been a struggle. I don't think I'd have made it past the 7th grade. But you know, it's just great to give parents more information about their kids, and I think all of us as parents, you know, understand that schools do a heck of a job of trying to communicate. Sometimes for parents it's difficult to wade through all of the information. Right now, for the last 60, 70 days, we've had a clean kitchen counter. And when school starts next week, it'll become very cluttered again with all the stuff that we send home. And sometimes we need to help parents kind of wade through all of that information. But certainly we do want to get them involved, and we do that by trying to break down barriers.
Well, the online system like Progress Book sounds like it would be pretty clear-cut. These are the grades, these are the assignments missed. Do you find parents taking advantage? Is this something you use in Adrian?
Yeah, we have something similar in Adrian. We call it a Parent Access Center. And
are parents taking advantage of it?
yes, most of our parents take advantage of that. I would say that in addition to breaking down the barriers, what our hope is, our intention is this year, is to provide parents information on how to help their child with specific situations. For example, if their child is having some academic problems, where can the parent go for help and resources? If their child's having some social or behavioral problems, where do parents go for help in terms of those activities or problems that they're facing with their child? So in addition to monitoring their child's progress through school, we also want to improve our channels of communication so parents can access certain supports to make sure they can receive whatever their child's or the help their child needs in whatever situation they're facing.
Now, are there any other things that parents can walk away from this conversation saying, you know, this year I'm going to do this differently, or this year I'm going to reinforce this with my child? Tom, do you want to take this?
Yeah, I think any time that you can get, you know, parents and educators on the same page, it's very important. Take that extra moment or two, talk to your teacher, get to know your teacher, share with them information about your child. Because so often we drop students off at the door and, you know, wave to the teacher. We spend more time talking to our auto mechanics about what our cars are doing wrong, and yet we just expect our teachers, you know, to take these students when they show up and figure it all out. So, you know, just communication, because we all have the same goal in mind, and that is to take care of the most precious, you know, thing that belongs to families, and that's their students. So.
And yet we all live very busy lives. I mean, we do. Parents don't always have the time, or they think they don't always have the time. At what point do teachers or educators get involved and intervene with the parents almost and say, listen, you need to do this. You need to pay more attention to your child. How do you communicate that without putting them off?
You know, that's a real challenge, and I think it takes a delicate, you know, it takes a lot of trust. So hopefully by the time a teacher gets into a situation where they're having that kind of a conversation, there's been a series of phone calls, a series of meetings, and it's usually not, hey, you need to get more involved. It's usually, here are some resources we can help you with getting, you know, your child from point A to point B. Here are some tools that we might be able to help you. I know that Paul Dobson, the Wood County prosecutor, we had a parent or a school safety summit last year where we brought together police and counselors and, you know, school officials to talk about some of the concerns that parents are facing at home with outside of school activities. So sometimes schools and community resources, and I know Brent at Eastwood has done similar kinds of programs where they've, you know, pulled different resources together in one place so parents can sit and hear all the different agencies talking about how we can help students.
Guys, thank you all so much for being here. And in fact, They've been kind enough to agree to come back on Thursday. This is just day one of this education roundtable. On Thursday, we'll also be joined by Toledo Superintendent Jerome Pecco. He's agreed to be there 6 a.m. 6 a.m. That's pretty early, guys. Thank you very much. We're going to be speaking about regulations, state and federal education regulations. Have they helped more than they hurt, or is it the other way around? We'll talk about that. And again, we'll give parents something to chew on as we head into this new school year. Thank you very much. We'll be right back. Tom Kippen will have your forecast after this.